So now that I got you thinking about Taptone, just wanted to talk about tone woods and Taptone and how you really can tell if a guitar has a great Taptone. First thing is you got to go through a lot of wood. You've got to be able to understand the different properties of wood and understand what each piece of wood feels like. This is 300 board feet of Corinna that I just recently purchased. And before I start doing anything with this wood, I'm going to start sorting it by weight and density to understand which boards are heavier and which boards are lighter. So as I look at this piece of wood, at each piece of wood, I can understand what the different tone is going to be like. As a rule of thumb, the lighter the wood, the more resonant it will be, and the heavier, more dense the wood, it'll be a little bit brighter. So when you're making a guitar, you usually are looking for kind of the perfect tonal sandwich. And that can mean a couple different things depending on the tone that you're looking for. You can take a basswood back and a maple top and get a somewhat bright guitar because of the hardness of the maple top. Or you can take a body like this Corinna, just leave it as it is, and you'll get a much warmer tone than if you put a maple top on it. If you want to brighten up the Corinna, you would add a maple top. So as you're looking at different pieces of wood, you really want to understand the characteristics of each piece. So I've got a sample here of the different types of wood, and folks ask, well, how do I know what has a good tap tone and what doesn't? This piece of hickory does not have a good tap tone. It has more of a thunk than anything else. You can specifically hear when you're looking at this piece of wood, the grain run out here has more of a thunk than the straight grain here. So as you're listening, you can definitely hear a different type of tone as you're knocking through the wood. So what you want to do if you want to use hickory as a top, you would go through 5 or 6 boards of hickory to understand the tonal response when you're knocking the piece of wood. So you can hear the different tap tone responses. Same thing goes for Corinna. This is a Corinna limba, white limba, tally body. Very light, very resonant. This is one of my last pieces of wood that I have from my first purchase of Corinna about 4 years ago. And this body is outstanding. It's extremely light. It's got a great, vibrant tap tone that you can hear ring through it. And this will be warmer sounding, so more bassy than if I dropped a maple top on this. If I dropped a maple top on this guitar, it'll be much brighter. So as you're thumbing through woods and trying to get an understanding of what you want to do, if you compare, let's say, a Les Paul Custom with a maple neck to a Les Paul Standard with a mahogany neck, the two differences in a custom versus a standard are the necks. You have a maple neck with an ebony board, which you'll get a much brighter sounding guitar because the wood is denser, versus a Les Paul Standard that has a rosewood and a mahogany neck. So as you're going through the different pieces of wood, depending on what you're looking for, you can pick different types of wood. So ebony fingerboard, this is a nice big chunk of ebony, will be significantly brighter than a rosewood fretboard. Same thing goes with a top. If you went with a mahogany top versus a maple top, the mahogany top would be much warmer, much bassier sounds than a maple, which will give you more top end. So as you're planning your guitar build, you want to really understand what is what. Obviously scale length and pickups all play into that as well. But if you build two guitars equally the same fret length, same pickups, if you choose different types of wood, you'll get a different type of sound. So as you're thinking about your guitar, really try and understand what you want to do. Do you want a bright sounding guitar? Do you want a shrieking telly? If you want a shrieking telly, I would not use white limba. I would use an ash and maybe even put a maple top on that. If you want a warm sounding telly, I'd go with a Corinna or an alder. So it really depends on what you're looking for. You really want a straight grain piece of wood. So this cherry has some grain run out. Same thing with this hickory, and as I'm knocking through this board, you can tell I get a different sound on this side than I do this side. So you're really looking for, you know, a full straight grain piece of wood. So when you look at the wingy here, I've got pretty much straight grain running throughout. Got a little bit of grain run out here, but I understand, you know, when you're knocking between this board and the cherry, this will be a much brighter sounding guitar because the wood is a lot more dense than the cherry. So as you're knocking throughout the different types of wood, you can get a really good understanding of the tonal sandwich that you're building. And that's really what it comes down to, is what kind of tonal sound, tonal characteristics are you looking for in a guitar. And that's why I put this wood review series together, to give you an understanding of the different types of woods that are out there, the workability of these woods, and an understanding of what is this going to do for me. So if you do an ebony fretboard with an ebony top, bright sounding guitar. You do just a cherry guitar with a cherry body, a little bit warmer. You know, you'll get a different tonal response.